Did you know that more than 100 million innocent animals are killed, injured, or tortured in U.S. labs each year for experimentation and testing? These animals can include mice, rats, frogs, rabbits, hamsters, guinea pigs, fish, birds, and even dogs, cats, and monkeys. 65% of Americans today own some type of pet, and most people love theirs dearly. So why do we continue this practice today? Well, the answer to that question appears to be that a lack of federal funding and private funding for alternatives to animal testing. There are some companies that do put money and research into it, but it seems to be difficult for them to find something that the regulatory agencies, as well as the FDA, will approve in place of animal testing. Most companies don't want to deal with the excess cost associated with researching alternatives or even trying to use them, so they pretty much don't bother. Unfortunately, profit is their main motivation in these cases, and the ethical concerns don't really bother them so much. So, what can we do to help resolve this issue? Well, for one, regulatory agencies could potentially lighten up on the requirements for the alternatives to animal testing, or they could help Congress lobby for further funding to find the alternatives. Um, Private companies could also take it upon themselves to try and find alternatives that would suffice to the FDA and regulatory agencies' requirements. Um, in general, the federal government and politicians could make larger light of the issue. You know, they could bring it to the table more so and even see about passing potential new mandates. There's also a potential act that's in the works. It's called the Humane Cosmetics Act. Unfortunately, it hasn't gone very far at this point, but its main goal is to end all animal testing in the U.S. completely. Um, Another potential solution is the FDA and or another regulatory agency could pass mandates to force any company that tests their products on animals to put this on the label very clearly in large letters so consumers are aware that this product that they are using was used on animals in an unethical way. So, what would the effect of these solutions be? Well, it's possible that the average consumer would see a slightly smaller variety of cosmetics each year and have a fewer amount of pharmaceuticals coming out each year, as it would become more difficult for companies to be able to produce the mass amounts they do due to the associated costs of the alternatives as well as potential failures if they have to develop their own. However, it seems like we really should be putting ethical concerns of animals and not promoting torture we before money in this situation. Companies should really be focusing on the morality of the situation instead of just it's really going to cost us too much money to discontinue this practice. Consumers would also be much happier if they were aware of which companies test on animals. It seems like many consumers nowadays probably just don't really think about it or assume that most companies have ended the practice, and unfortunately, this really isn't the case. So, if they were more informed, I feel they would be more apt to buy from products that weren't tested on animals from companies that do not support that practice. There are also some countries that have already completely banned animal testing. Surprisingly, the U.S. is not one of them. All of Europe has, Israel and India, and this also includes any imports of products that were tested on animals. So, what can we do to help the situation? Well, actively checking and avoiding various brands that test on animals and various products that test on animals would be the first step. You know, vote with your money. Tell these companies, you know, this isn't cool. This isn't something you should be doing anymore. You should also be aware of which companies. So, you know, obviously do your own research. Find out as much as you can. But a few of the top companies that still use animal testing are L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, Procter and Gamble, Clorox, Johnson and Johnson, SC Johnson, Colgate Palmolive, Mac, Unilever, and Dial. Um, As far as anything else you can do besides staying informed and avoiding the brands, just spread the word. You could, promote the cruelty-free campaign as much as you want to friends, family on social media. And then you can also donate. There are various organizations around the country that work to save animals used in testing, and also, seek to find those alternatives that one day hopefully can completely replace animal testing in the industry. And that is all.